Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the NBA slate for Tuesday. We have only a 3-gamer today, so obviously I wish it was a little bit bigger, but we got to work with what we have. Some of these games are looking a little tricky, but you might get some news that will make it a little bit easier. So let's get into it. Hope you guys had a good day yesterday. If you enjoyed the videos, appreciate it. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Had a good day on DraftKings, not so much on FanDuel. We put up north of 310 on DraftKings, posted the updates. Once Jimmy Butler and Bam were out, loaded up on the Heat, still had Jokic in there, had Dinwiddie, who did great. So it's a good day on DK, see if we can keep it going. Maybe get back on track on FanDuel tonight. Point guard plays today. We have Curry, James Harden, DeJounte at the top end, even Donovan Mitchell's there. DeJounte might get a little bit overlooked today now that he's sandwiched in between, Donovan Mitchell, who I think a lot of people will go to at his cheap price tag, and then he has the two most expensive players above him in Harden and Steph Curry. But DeJounte's quietly been really solid this year. Only had like a couple of bad games against Dallas where he only put up 25, but normally he's in the 40s and 50s. He has a couple of 60s and even had a 70-point game in there. It does give you triple-double upside. I kind of like him today against the Clippers. I think this one might be one of the games to target. The Spurs against the Clippers. You never know what Pop is going to do. Sometimes he ran with like a very tight rotation with a couple of guys, like the 9th and 10th guys just playing a handful of minutes. Sometimes he plays Forbes a lot more minutes than he normally does. But DeJounte Murray is the one kind of staple. He's getting you 36, 38 minutes in any sort of close game. And assuming he's playing well like he is, kind of like him today at 95, even though he is expensive. I don't mind going down to Donovan Mitchell, and then out of the top-end guys, I would prefer Curry over James Harden. Maxey is 72. Tough spot against Utah, so I'll probably pass on that. Mike Conley, 62. Just not somebody I really play when everybody else is there. Like if Donovan Mitchell or somebody of these other, like Clarkson, is out, then you can look to Mike Conley. But typically I don't play him when everybody's healthy because he doesn't get you a lot of minutes and doesn't have like a crazy high usage rate playing next to Mitchell and playing next to like Clarkson and all these other guys that like to shoot a lot. Derek White is 54. His price tag has come down. I thought he was going to be a lot better this year. He's normally been in like the 20s, so his floor is pretty low. He's struggling with the shot a little bit. Hopefully he turns it around. It still has a lot of time. It's only like the first couple of weeks of the season, but it's tough to really trust him. But the price tag is fair enough on a 3-gamer that you could go to him. But I think Bledsoe might look a little bit better, and I know I never like to say this, but Bledsoe's been really doing solid things recently. 32, 37, 35, 31 in his last 4 games. He is playing with a lot more confidence, playing with a lot more consistency, and early in the game, he's being a lot more aggressive with his shot, something that we didn't normally see early on in the season. And another important factor is that their backup point guard / shooting guard, Terrence Mann, is questionable today. If he's out, then Bledsoe should see even more run. So I feel pretty good about plugging him in at shooting guard when I have like Derek White, Seth Curry, Clarkson, Milton, Poole in that similar range. I think Bledsoe might look the best out of that group. Vassell is 47. He plays around 30 minutes off the bench if he's playing well. He's been shooting the ball really well this year from 3. He's shooting 40+% from distance. And there's still a good amount of minutes for the Spurs, like these bench guys, just until Pearl is back, just because they do play small at center sometimes with Thaddeus Young at the 5. But Devin Vassell plays pretty solid minutes. You can at least count on like 25 to 30 out of him off the bench. Hit some threes, get some usage with basically with the shot attempts. He's normally going to take 10+ shots. Gets you rebounds. I think he's a pretty good value play at 47. Man, it's questionable if he's out. Then give a bump to Batum, give a bump to like Bledsoe, Reggie Jackson, maybe Paul George a little bit. 4K range, Korkmaz 46. There's no Danny Green today, so Korkmaz's minutes will be pretty secure. Tough spot, though, but I don't mind getting to him. And then the Brooklyn Nets are without Joe Harris, so Bruce Brown looks pretty solid at 42. But I'd probably like to go down to Patty Mills more. There's a chance Mills starts. I believe he started the second half in place of Joe Harris. He was shooting the ball really well. He's had a couple of games this year where he's just lights out from 3. One game that really sticks out is opening night, where he was just red hot from distance, 7 of 7, if I believe correctly. Last game he played 31 minutes, put up 39 fantasy points, had 29 real life points. He's a guy that if he's hot, he's just going to be able to knock down 3 after 3, and he's going to be really frustrating if you didn't roster him, especially at a very nice price tag at $3,800. Small forward, you have Durant and Paul George. Both look like good plays. Durant revenge his spot against the Warriors, but it's not like the first time he's going up against his former team. Kind of like Paul George today against the Spurs. The Spurs defense has been bad, super bad this year, giving up some monster fantasy games. We saw Luka and Kristaps absolutely tear them apart. They gave up a couple of other huge games to superstars this year. And Paul George plays big-time minutes, this 27-minute game. Real killer, but that was a blowout, which you can't really project. Maybe they blow out the Spurs today, but if it's within like 15, 20 points, you're still going to see Paul George out there in the fourth quarter. The game against the Timberwolves, they were up by 30+. So no reason to put Paul George, especially when they were playing a back-to-back the next day. Coming off of a loss against Chicago, you want to see the Clippers get back on track, which they probably will against the Spurs. But I think Paul George looks like a great play at $10,200. In the 5K range, you have like Batum, Bogdanovic, not really interested. Wiggins has had a couple of good games recently, but he's tough to trust. I probably like Draymond a little bit better, even though he's a little bit cheaper than Wiggins. Looks a little bit better personally. Bruce Brown, 42, looks pretty solid. If you need like another cheap play, should see good minutes today without Joe Harris. And then Lonnie Walker, McDermott, good value plays at 3K. Moving on to power forward, you can pay up for Durant. Tobias is 85. They're playing without Embiid still, so Tobias gets big bump in usage. The matchup is really tough, though. So I think it's a good play, but maybe not a great play if he gets a lot of ownership. You can save $2,100 and go down to Draymond Green. Going up against the Brooklyn Nets in this bad. Their defense is not good. The front court is very, limited just because Blake Griffin plays the center. They don't have Claxton there, so they have Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge centering all those minutes, and not a lot of size there. Not a lot of, athleticism. Draymond's not a guy that will take a lot of shots or do anything like that, but he's a guy that fills up the stat sheet. Expect the Warriors to put up some points here against the Brooklyn Nets. Wouldn't be surprised if Draymond, as usual, flirts with a triple-double. If he completes it, then he's probably going to be in the optimal because the triple-double at $6,400 is going to go a long way. Also, like Thaddeus Young, he's 53. He's plays around 24 to 26 minutes, but he's pretty active in those minutes that he gets. Has the ball in his hands a lot, has a high usage rate, gets you a lot of assists, as well as rebounding the ball and taking a good amount of shots. So 53 for Thaddeus Young if you wanted to get another Spur in there. I definitely don't mind it. I kind of like this Clippers-Spurs game. Might be my favorite one to target because I think a lot of people will go to the Brooklyn game, which I do like a couple of pieces from, like Patty Mills and Draymond, but I think the Spurs-Clippers game might be my favorite one, and the Philly game will come in last because just a tough spot against Utah on the road. Going on to center, besides Thaddeus Young here, you could play Gobert at 77. It's a good price tag, but I probably like the two guys below 5K with Zubats, 49, Aldridge at 48. Aldridge has been playing a lot better recently. 3 30-plus point games in his last 4, and that's basically it for this DraftKings slate at least. So let's go ahead and touch on FanDuel. All right, over on FanDuel, point guard plays, you have Curry. Priced up a little bit, but he's still a good play at 10.8. You can save money and go down to DeJounte at 98. And then you have Harden there at 10.2. Donovan Mitchell looks good at $8,800. So I think all 4 of the top end guys are in play. Probably still like DeJounte for tournaments the most. Then followed by Steph Curry. Then, at least on FanDuel, I'd go Donovan Mitchell over James Harden, just based on the price tag. For the value plays, you have Bledsoe at 6K. Reggie Jackson at 6K. With them being the same price tag, I prefer Reggie Jackson. Even though Bledsoe's played a lot better recently, Jackson's still been solid. And he normally is going to play a lot of minutes. Both guys will. And then in the 5K range, don't mind Derek White. He's only $5,200. He still plays good minutes. He's in the range. He's in a good range of a chance to at least get you 5 to 7x at least. 25 wouldn't kill you at $5,200. 35 would go a long way. And then Patty Mills at 4K. I still like him. Right now, I'm going with Reggie Jackson at $6,000. Good price tag for a guy that plays big minutes in close games. He's been shooting the ball a lot better recently compared to the first couple of weeks where him and Eric Bledsoe couldn't buy a bucket. At shooting guard, Paul George still looks like a great option. You can go with DeJounte Murray at 98, but I prefer Paul George. I'll probably play DeJounte at point guard, so I can get in Paul George here. You have Donovan Mitchell at 88. It looks fine as well. I probably wouldn't play both Bledsoe and Jackson unless we know that Terrence Mann is out. Just because I think they both could go off, but if I'm also going to play Paul George, I don't want to overdo it with the Clippers guys. I will go ahead and plug in Patty Mills at 4K. There's a good chance, at least a chance that he starts. Even if he doesn't start, he's going to see good minutes off the bench. They don't have that many other guys without Joe Harris to really shoot a lot of threes. Him and Durant, and they basically have Durant, Harden, and Joe Harris shooting a lot of threes. Aldridge does, but they probably don't want him to do that, even though he's been shooting the ball well from distance this year. But Mills, I could see him slide right into that Joe Harris role. Just get open, hit some threes. Basically, I'll do exactly what Joe Harris does, and he's a guy that can shoot really well. Small forward, plug in Paul George here at $10,000. He looks better than Kevin Durant for me, saving $600. And then Tobias looks very good as well at $77 compared to $85 on DraftKings. The value picks here, don't see anybody in the 5K range that I'm looking to get a lot of. A lot of guys are out in the 4K range. And the 3K range, you don't have that many other guys. So probably a position to kind of spend up on at small forward. Power forward, Tobias, 77, looks great. You can go down to Thaddeus Young at 59. Or not Nick Batum. Go play Thaddeus Young. Spot against the Clippers. They play Zubats and they play Hartenstein at center. So they should have at least Thaddeus Young or Drew Eubanks out there most of the game. At least one of them. And normally they've been splitting. Thaddeus Young might get a little bit of a couple extra minutes compared to Eubanks. And 53 for Eubanks compared to 59 for Thaddeus Young. I'll play Thaddeus Young in that situation. I don't really want to go to anybody, don't want to play Looney or don't want to play Doug McDermott at 47. Hartenstein is always a good GPP play. And then at center, you have Drummond at 85, Gobert at 83. I would probably like to go a little bit cheaper. Give me Zubats against the Spurs, undersized front court. Eubanks is a big guy, but Thaddeus Young's a little bit undersized. He'll get some minutes matched up against Thaddeus Young. Because he's going back and forth. Zubats might have a great game on the glass, crashing some boards, and if he's playing well, they're given the minutes, especially if they're without man and that rotation becomes a little bit tighter. But overall, that's about it. That last game is probably going to make or break my night on this 3-gamer. Thank you for watching. Best of luck tonight, and I'll see you all next time.